everyone. Welcome back to the North Dakota Teaching Podcast. If you're new here, we are currently going through a first year teacher series podcast, and we're so happy that you're joining us today. Whether you're student teaching, a first year teacher, or you've been teaching for a while, everyone is welcome here. This podcast is a safe space to learn, share, reflect, and grow as we blossom into the teachers we were born to be. If you haven't done so already, feel free to check out our 10 teacher tips down below. And as always, if you ever need anything, I'm just a message away.
Welcome to the North Dakota Teaching Podcast. Whether you're a first-year teacher, veteran teacher, or just a mom trying to gain some new insights, you are right where you are meant to be. Kayla Durkin, founder of the Blossoming Teacher course, is passionate about helping new teachers blossom into the teacher they were born to be. Kayla wants to help inspire teachers to be their best self, whether that means sharing about personal or professional development, self-care, or the latest and most effective teaching strategies. Through this podcast, you will hear from real teachers sharing their stories about teaching, all with one main goal in mind: to be able to make an impact and help other teachers blossom. And with that, here is your host, Kayla Durkin.
Hey, this episode has been a long time coming. If you're a regular here, you know that I always release my new episodes on Wednesdays. However, last Tuesday night, I was laying in bed and I just wasn't proud of the final product, so I got up in the middle of the night and I deleted the podcast I'd posted. Of course, many of the things you're going to hear today are things I had in that original episode, but I just needed to take some time to reword some of the things because today's topic is a crucial one. Today, we're talking all about relationships with your colleagues, and if I'm being honest, this is something that can make or break a job experience. For the first half of the podcast today, I'm going to be focusing on how to build relationships with colleagues, but then I'm also going to take some time to talk through how to make the most of situations when things maybe aren't going as well as we would have hoped. The very first tip that I have for you is absolutely positively going to help make any job better. It's a little thing I like to call friendship. No matter where you work or what job you're doing, if you can be friends with your coworkers, everything else is going to be so much easier. Think back to a time that you were maybe working a part-time job or doing a big group project in college. Think about your situation and then think about the people you were with. Would you consider them a friend? If so, do you think it made the experience better? For me, I definitely know it does. When I accepted my first teaching position, I didn't know a single person in the building. I was teaching in a town 20 minutes from where I lived, and I didn't even know anyone who lived in the town. Thankfully, before the school year began, the school was having a staff get-together at one of the local painting and wine events. Even though I was absolutely terrified to attend, I knew I had to. Of course, I was panicked about everything. What to wear? Should I bring a beverage? Who am I going to sit by? Oh, and let's not forget the fact that I'm just about the least artistic person ever. Anyway, I convinced myself to go, and of course, everyone was super nice. There were 2 other first-year teachers there, so we stuck together, and we actually made plans to carpool up to the school later that week. Long story short, we spent the summer prepping our classrooms together and getting everything ready for the school year. By the time the school year started, we were already friends, and that made everything about being a first-year teacher so much easier. I completely understand that it can be hard to make friends as adults, especially during COVID. And if you're in a building where the staff tends to be older than you, that adds a complexity as well. If you're currently teaching virtually and you're looking for ways to build relationships with your colleagues, take a leap of faith and ask them if they would like to have a cup of coffee together virtually or wine. I guess it's your choice. Anyway, log into your team meetings a few minutes early and take time to ask your colleagues about anything that will help you form a relationship with them. You could ask them about their weekend, what their plans are for the nice day. You could ask them about a cool lesson you heard they taught, if they watched The Bachelor last night. I mean, definitely read your audience, but I think you get the point. Most teachers love to talk, and honestly, You really never know, but they might actually want someone to ask them about their day or even just ask them how they're doing. Seriously, though, you really have nothing to lose because if it doesn't go well or if it's awkward, you really don't even have to ever ask them about it again. I mean, I would hope you try again, but you definitely don't have to. If possible, just try to find your people. I promise you, it makes things so much easier because you'll have people you can talk to when you're struggling, people you can bounce ideas off of, people you can plan with, and even people you can head to happy hour with after a crazy day of teaching. Whether you've already started forming some relationships with your colleagues or not, the next thing I'd like you to do is exchange your phone number with your colleagues. A, because texting is so much easier than sending formal, awkward emails. And B, because you never know when you might need to text them a quick, hey, is it pajama day? Or ask them if there's a staff meeting after school. Or honestly, if there's an emergency or you're running late. I wish I was making this up, but once upon a time, I was late for school because a concrete company was pouring a driveway next door and they were blocking me in. Is that an extreme case? Yeah. However, little things such as a car accident or a road being closed or inclement weather can cause someone to be late. So if you have your number, you can safely call them and let them know, hey, I'm running late. Can you cover my classroom? Can you get this ready? Whatever it needs to be. Another great way to build relationships with your colleagues is through a private Facebook page. Now, I know most of my younger audience is probably thinking, oh my gosh, only old people are on Facebook. However, it's really nice to be able to communicate, share teaching ideas, post questions, whatever, without having to do a long email chain with the reply all. I mean, if you know, you know. Another way that's going to help you build relationships with your colleagues is simply going to be by supporting each other. If your colleague wants to try something new, encourage them to take the risk. If things aren't going well, help them brainstorm ideas. Share ideas and resources if you can. We all know the key to teaching is working smarter, not harder. There are enough responsibilities and items on our to do list, so whenever possible, share the ideas that you have. Share your lesson plans, share some resources, share whatever you can. Not only will your colleague be super grateful, but they'll also want to continue to work together, which will lighten the load for both of you. All right, now that you know how important it is to be friends with your colleagues, please know that I understand that this isn't always the case, and so it's time to get into the more challenging part of this podcast. I always want to be transparent with you, and I want you to know that not everything is always sunshine and rainbows. I understand that there are going to be coworkers who are honestly just difficult to work with. There are going to be people you work with who just don't even give you a chance or are just so hard to have conversations with. But I want you to know that communication is key when you're going through a rough patch with a colleague. It's going to be so important to respect each other's differences, to agree to disagree, to listen and be open minded to what your colleagues have to say. Honestly, you might have to bite your tongue, but always try to be the bigger person and be willing to walk away or simply let it go. Just like we give our students a fresh start every day, we have to be willing to do that with our colleagues as well. Please know, though, it's okay to respectfully disagree with your colleagues, but whenever you're disagreeing on something, promise me that you will ask yourself these two questions. The first question is, am I disagreeing with this person because I truly don't agree with them? Or is it a pride issue and I just don't want them to be right? The second question I want you to ask yourself is one you've probably heard me say before, but just in case, stop what you're doing and make sure you listen to this part. When you're in a difficult position or you're disagreeing with your colleague, make sure you ask yourself this question. Is it right for kids? If it's right for kids, it's right. If it's best for kids, then it's best. We need to be sure that we are always putting our students first, and sometimes that means putting our pride aside. No matter what kind of person we are, though, the devil is inside of all of us. We have all had a petty disagreement that we regret, possibly because we were tired, we were stressed or overwhelmed, or maybe we were just having an off day. But remember, Your colleagues are people too, and they're also going to have off days. Continue to have that open communication, to talk through your differences, and if you absolutely cannot come to an agreement, you truly might just have to agree to disagree. During these difficult times, do whatever you can to keep the conversation positive and remember what your main objective is: to serve kids. Okay, this part's an even harder conversation to have, and this is an extreme situation. But if things are continually difficult between you and your colleague, you might have to seek out advice from someone you trust, such as an admin, a team lead, an instructional coach, or maybe even the counselor. When you're seeking advice, though, please be sure that you're talking to someone who isn't going to start any rumors or stir up more drama for you. We absolutely do not want to gossip or talk poorly about our colleagues. If it does come to a point where you need a moderator to work through your situation, be sure that you're focusing your points around how you feel instead of making accusations. Open up by sharing your feelings, and then make sure you give your colleague a chance to share their feelings too, and be sure that you're willing to listen and be empathetic towards their feelings and what they have to say as well. If you take anything away from this portion of the podcast, please remember that you both became teachers for a reason and you both have the same end goal: to serve students. I absolutely hope you are never in a situation where you're not getting along with your coworkers, but I'm also a realist and I know that sometimes that happens. If you ever feel like you're heading down a path, be sure to start communicating right away. Be willing to give their ideas a try. Work together. Be a team. Who knows? You might even end up being friends in the end. So, as we end today's episode, I just want to remind you to see the best in people. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Make an effort to ask questions and begin building a relationship with the people that you work with. Teaching is hard, and we absolutely cannot do it on our own. Having a school family is a beautiful thing that I hope you are all able to experience throughout your teaching journey. Having a friend down the hall to have lunch with, to plan cool PBLs with, to share ideas and learn with is seriously a dream that I pray you all get to live. As always, if you ever need anything, please reach out to me. If this podcast episode brought up unresolved feelings or you're currently feeling alone through your teaching journey, please, please, please do not hesitate to send me a message. Just as you are there to serve your students in any capacity they need, I'm also always here to serve you. So thank you so much for tuning into today's episode, and I will see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the North Dakota Teaching Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate that effort. Be sure to tune in to the next episode for more teaching tips to make an impact. Until next time.